Moving forward, Herwig, I'd love to turn the mic to you and get into the main meat of the conversation here.
All right, you want to talk Reg A. Well, for those of you who are listening that are not familiar, I'm going to give a brief synopsis of the Reg A Plus, how it works, and what issuers go through in order to get approved. And then we're going to actually dive into some very big news, which is that the SEC actually finally, if you will, approved 2 offerings that are tokenized, which we think is definitely momentous, and we'll explain why in just a minute. But first, Reg A Plus is often seen as the less broken crowdfunding exemption that came alongside the Jobs Act. So the Jobs Act, passed in 2012, ushered in really 3 key new exemptions for private capital markets. The first and most used is the new 506C exemption for Regulation D. The biggest change being there you were actually allowed to generally solicit or advertise, if you will, your offering. It sounds kind of crazy, but before 2013 and still today, a majority of all private placements are done confidentially and privately. So they are not even allowed to advertise the fact that they're raising money. With this really helped create the advent of equity crowdfunding, and with years after Title II or 506C was codified, 2 other major crowdfunding exemptions came out. The first is known as Reg CF, or Regulation Crowdfunding, which is largely criticized as being broken because you can only raise up to $1 million from the crowd. It's easy to get started. It's a lot less of a barrier than, say, the Reg A Plus offering, but because of its limited capacity, it's often seen a lack of utilization by companies in the marketplace. So that really puts a lot of the attention on the Reg A Plus offering. The Reg A Plus offering, which is often called the mini IPO, really designed as a way to bridge between before having to go do a public filing, allows a company to raise up to $50 million from anybody in the U.S., whether they are accredited or not. So, if you look at Reg CF and immediately say that's dead on arrival, if you're looking to do a major retail offering, that really only leaves you with Reg A Plus as an option. And it was slowly and started to become very often used in the equity crowdfunding space, but there's actually been no update up until this week on tokenized offerings attempting to do a Reg A Plus, and they've actually all been a bit of a limbo. So before we jump into that news, the way a Reg A Plus offering is, it's actually broken down into 2 tiers. Tier 1 allows you to basically raise up to $25 million. The second ladder, being up to $50 million. The Tier 1 only requires reviewed financials, whereas the Tier 2 actually requires you to have them audited, which is indeed an increased expense to your filing. And of course, you have to file a Form 1A, which is typically, done with a seasoned legal counsel to help guide you through this process. The SEC has up to 90 days to respond to your filing, and how you end up in a limbo is typically they will wait and take their time to give you those comments, and then you're going to have to go ahead and refile and address those comments and concerns. And so, becomes this dance with the SEC as you try to get approved for a Reg A Plus offering. And because none had been approved up until this week, or I should say last week, since today is Monday, time of recording, many people saw doing a tokenized offering, whether you're doing it as an STO or even for a utility token or an ICO, as pretty much impossible. There was kind of a feeling that the SEC is purposely stonewalling these projects because of their lack of support for the asset itself, or simply because it was too complex for them to deal with, etc. We know now through their joint release and through a lot of their work that this is not indeed the case. In fact, they are extremely supportive of it. There are market guidelines out there, and we have 2 offerings approved. There is a hitch, but I'm not going to get into that hitch quite yet. I'm going to pass it over to Kyle to do actually a quick deep dive into the 2 different offerings so we can get a better idea of what the SEC is approving.
Thank you, Herwig. A little bit of context. The security token industry blew up last week when 2 Reg A Plus STOs were approved for fundraising by the SEC. And everyone was incredibly excited for the fact that, as Herwig, you mentioned, finally we've seen some movement on tokenized Reg A Plus offerings being approved and allowed for fundraising. So when I hear that, I wanted to dig in deeper and find out more about these two offerings. So first off, we got to go into the first one. This is the very first Reg A Plus tokenized offering approved by the SEC, and this is by a company called Blockstack. And so Blockstack was approved for a $28 million cash offering that is already open. Thursday, July 11th was when it opened for fundraise. And Blockstack is a decentralized computing network, and they're looking to build kind of a decentralized internet with over 100 applications that provide similar services of social media, of Google, of the Microsoft Office suite, and many more. And so they're building this whole underlying technology and are looking to fundraise from general investors. The interesting thing, though, is that, as they said in their offering circular, that they're actually looking to build something that one day won't be a security, Herwig. They're not actually backing this security to anything at all. They're looking to build a decentralized network, and with the agreement of the SEC, if they're able to take their network from being one that is centralized or controlled solely by Blockstack and decentralize it such that no participant in the system has any more control than another. If they're able to successfully do that, these tokens that they're selling right now may no longer be constituted as securities and can be constituted as a utility token or something of this such. They don't specifically define what they legally may be constituted as in the future, but they do note here specifically that the Stacks tokens may no longer constitute a security as long as they make a decentralized network. So unfortunately for the STO crowd, this is not a security token. It's incredibly groundbreaking in terms of pushing forward with a Reg A Plus offering, but this is a compliant ICO, which is very interesting to build the decentralized network of applications and pay for the idea behind this token is that it will pay for the transaction fees between the blockchain and the application that you're using. So there is no asset underlying, but it is a tremendous move forward for this company.
So this is the classic, decentralized tokens goal, right? I think Ethereum, when the SEC made some comments about it no longer, although maybe previously, having the characteristics of a security, it has made its way out of that classification. It seems to me Blockstack is very eager to receive the same, as we had just pointed out earlier with the joint release from FINRA and the SEC, as well as potentially with others like the CFTC and many other regulatory bodies here in the U.S. That would give them a lot more flexibility and latitude to grow and take on more ecosystem holders and miners and contributors and everything else that currencies and utility tokens like that aim for. So definitely groundbreaking, as you said, not necessarily for security tokens, but a clear-cut example of perhaps a better word is a textbook example of how you would want to go and raise money for your blockchain here in the United States, and they've done it properly.
I also think it's a great way for them to prove that, hey, look, ICOs aren't just scams, right? A lot of U.S. investors or maybe traditional investors that maybe aren't quite as interested or familiar with the crypto space may look at the term ICO or cryptocurrency and immediately associate that with scams or fraud. And what Blockstack is showing here is no, that's not how all of these tokens are doing it. They've successfully raised millions of dollars from large institutional VCs. They've been very successful in raising equity rounds. They're now raising their utility token, and they're doing it the right way. And if you buy into this decentralized network that may govern all internet usage moving forward, if you want to protect your data, if you want to move forward with some of these great technological advancements that we're building here in the crypto space, or that they are building in the crypto space, rather, feel free to check that out and participate if you're interested. The second security token offering that was rumored was Props by YouNow. And Similarly to Blockstack, what I was able to find in my deep dive is that this is another utility token. So they are looking to use Reg A Plus not for a sale. They're actually not looking to sell these tokens. Instead, they're actually looking to issue a security as a reward for using their network. So YouNow is a video streaming platform who is using these tokens as a reward for their users to be able to participate in their network and encourage and incentivize those users to continue engaging with their platform. So another ICO that's successfully passed the rigorous tests that come with Reg A Plus, which again is, as Herwig mentioned, is nothing to scoff at. These diligence processes that you need to follow if you're looking to participate in a Reg A Plus offering are not that far away from what you'd see in a public offering. Certainly it's to a lesser degree because it is a private security, but these are very legit. A lot of money, a lot of time, and so they've successfully been able to pass this diligence process and are going to be issuing their security in the form of a token for participation in their platform. So that's a little bit of background on both of those. Very exciting. Finally, we're seeing some movement in the Reg A Plus side of things. What we did see is that both of these offerings have spent over 2 years collaborating with the SEC. 2 years, and between $1.5 and $2 million is what we were able to determine it seems to be the cost. I know we can get into that a little bit more now, Herwig, but this is no joke. They've spent a lot of time building out these offerings.
Yeah, that's not a small sum of money. In fact, the SEC never intended it to be that large of a sum. In fact, if I remember reading to some of their stats, they actually wanted the Reg A Plus offering to take around $100,000 to $200,000 in legal and accounting fees. This is obviously way north of that. And so, from what I'm hearing, Kyle, is that, there isn't much that we can officially say about STOs for Reg A Plus. But this is groundbreaking for ICOs. There's now a compliant, proven model done not once but twice. And it does seem to take some serious factors if you're looking to the same. One is a $2 million budget, 75% would be going towards legal. It seems to be both firms used Williams Sonsini as their law firm of choice. And they also all had institutional backing. In fact, they had some of the same institutional backers: Union Square Ventures, Winklevoss Capital, as well as many different notable individuals like Naval Ravikant, Props had Casey Neistat and Phil DeFranco. You've definitely got real institution and strong backing behind these offerings before they even apply to do their Reg A Plus. More than that, it's tough to derive, but it seems to me like if you're able to check box that list there, that you might have a very good chance of getting approved as a Reg A Plus ICO. And in the meantime, hopefully I can derive from this that there's starting to be movement, that there is trust on the SEC, that infrastructure is in place, and hopefully very soon we're going to see a security token offering that also gets approved. But, right now, I don't know of many that have a $2 million budget dedicated towards legal and accounting alone. So it may very well be that the right project hasn't come around yet for the SEC to approve. I don't know, Kyle, is there any other major takeaways that you see from this?
I think the major takeaway for me is that potentially for a startup, if you're looking or considering or see the significant benefits in Reg A Plus, where we haven't even been able to scratch the surface and may need to address this in another episode in terms of some of the other advantages of Reg A Plus offerings, such as utilizing a transfer agent for shareholder restrictions and many more huge groundbreaking benefits of Reg A Plus versus any of the other private securities exemptions. If you're looking or strongly considering a Reg A Plus offering, it may make sense to raise some equity capital first to give you runway, to be able to help your business last 2 to 3 years, to be able to cover the full cost of the offering itself, which is $2 million, let alone the cost of your burn over two plus years with employees and generating revenue. So if you're looking to do this offering, I really think that it's a smart idea to go in prepared, to not cut any corners. Don't waste your time and try to get a cheap law firm or try to do this in fast mode. Raise some money or come in strong with some strong revenue and a good business and work with the SEC to build a strong offering. But it's totally possible. The groundwork has been laid, and I'm looking forward to seeing more issuances moving forward.
Completely agree, and whether it helps the SEC or more importantly the issuer, there is one super valuable tool that the Reg A Plus has, which is something called testing the waters. Now, this isn't just willy-nilly. You can go out and see how many people are interested in your offering. You do have to put together the right disclosures. It's often best to work with a broker-dealer or a crowdfunding platform to do this, but it's a great way to basically mock test your offering and see what kind of demand, engage the market for the interest in your actual offering before you even go through this major investment of time and money to get approved for a Reg A Plus. So I think it's a very good point. There's definitely more advantages that we'll hopefully dive in on the next episode around Reg A Plus, which I will imagine will be when we see an actual STO Reg A Plus approved. And I'm only excited to talk about what they're doing on next week's episode. And looking forward to sharing all the updates with you guys next week. Thanks for tuning in.